welcome to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode number 53, and the title of this episode is The Economic Collapse Code. Today we're going to talk about the economic collapse news, and also somebody forwarded me a document that it's the Fed document with their stress tests. But there's an interesting table in this document that goes all the way back to 2001, and it goes to 2000. Let me see. I know it goes to 2015, and basically it shows each one of the quarters of the year, and it predicts what they think the market will be like. And it also shows, what the GDP growth is. It shows the unemployment rate, and it's very interesting because when I go back in time, and I went back to like 2008 or so, and I went back to 2003, and they are very close to what the market is going to be. And I'll share this at the end of the report, and we'll discuss it, and I'll explain what I found. I will put a link on here. You can go and take a look at it, but it's pretty startling, and it looks like they pretty much know what's going to happen before it happens. But let's get going on the current news and what's going on out there today. Basically, there was an article, the countdown to World War III, the petrodollar system is teetering on the brink of collapse as China moves against the U.S. dollar. Right now, 7 of 10 Asian countries move from dollars to yuan. China persists in refusing to buy U.S. paper, and Fed may buy $85 billion in bonds per month instead of the $40 or $45 billion that they're doing now. And as you can see, nobody wants the U.S. dollar anymore, this worthless piece of paper. And they realize with the amount of debt, we're approaching $17 trillion in debt right now, and they're looking at us going, okay, what are you guys doing? I mean, there was a report where they came out and said, oh, the Treasury is going to pay off $35 billion, but $35 billion of $17 trillion. I mean, it's like, someone who has $1,000 and I'm paying off $5 of the 1,000. It's meaningless. Okay. Now, talking about taxes and people keeping everything private, the IRS says they're going to spy on our shopping records, travel, social interaction, health records, and emails. And they're saying that with all their technology and everything, they can see what you're buying, where you're traveling, and if the percentage of what you're doing does not match the income that you're bringing in, they're going to flag it. Now, to me, this is a lot of privacy issues. First of all, where are they getting this information? How are they allowed to get this information? And these are an infringement on our rights. And this is, they're entering into a territory where the IRS is going to have lawsuits coming out of the ears because the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, allows us to have private. They can't search, they can't wiretap, and I know there's laws out there and they're doing it anyhow, but this is going too far. And you know why they're doing this? It's because their tax revenues right now can't even pay the interest on the debt. So they're looking to find money any way they possibly can. And this is not going to turn out well. And you can tell the end game is here because they're grabbing at anything they possibly can to get money. Now, Draghi comes out and says, that he might be slashing rates and there might be a negative deposit rate. Now, why would you put your money in the bank to get negative rates? And it makes no sense whatsoever. We know that other countries have already created a similar FDIC Bank of England document which allows them to Cyprus your account. Switzerland's doing it, Australia's doing it, Canada's doing it. European nation pretty much is already doing it. And we are going to see money frozen and taken out of the banks. Now, if you're getting a negative return, right now you're getting a 0% return or less than 1%, why would you keep your money in the bank anyhow? What are you getting out of it? And if you do keep it in there, it's going to be frozen and it's going to be stuck there, and then they're going to take it and give you, stocks from the bank that's underwater, and it's another piece of worthless paper. It makes no sense. And just playing on this, there was an interesting article in Market Watch, where it says you have too many bank accounts. Fewer accounts lead to better household budgeting, study finds. Now, when I read this, they're telling you to combine your accounts into one. To me, I'm reading this completely differently than what they're saying here. They want people, especially the older people who, you're insured up to a certain amount in the bank, so they split their money up into many different accounts. This is how I'm reading it. So if I have $100,000 in 3, 4, 5 different accounts, they want you to take that and put it into one account. That'll make it a lot easier. But to me, what I'm seeing is put it into one account, so this way we have unsecured funds that we can access when we Cyprus you. And when I say Cyprus you, I mean the bail-in. That they'll freeze that amount of money, they'll give you the stock, they'll take your money, and basically you just lost it. That's how I'm reading this. I mean, it is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of, that if you have too many accounts, you can't save money because, if I have $1,000 or $5,000 or $10,000, and I have to divide between 3 accounts, I just can't figure that out. So basically what they're telling you, and I noticed that all these news magazines and articles always give you bullshit stories. Even like weight loss, if you eat too much of that, or this many calories, or this type of stuff, doing too many sit-ups might hurt you, doing too many arm curls might hurt your muscle. I mean, it's ridiculous what they put out there, and this just feels like one of those articles that just is a bunch of bullshit, and basically all they want to do is have an easier way of taking your money. So basically what they're saying is, hey, can you make it a lot easier for us? Because we want to take your money, but we want to make sure that we can get all the unsecured, uninsured funds. And for us to do this, we're going to need you to combine your accounts. That's basically what they're doing. That's what they're saying. Okay, let's move on here. In California, the governor signs a gun confiscation bill, and this is completely null and void, and according to the Second Amendment, and according to Marbury versus Madison. And in that case, the Supreme Court case ruling, it says the law repugnant to the Constitution is void, and the word repugnant means incompatible, inconsistent. So inconsistent to the Constitution. Second Amendment says the people have the right to bear arms, and that shall not be infringed upon. So basically, this law that they came out with is completely null and void, and this looks like it's going to be a template, just like New York, for those states that are already on the edge of collapse, that have huge populations, where they need to get the guns away from the people, and they're going to use this to do it. Basically what it is. It's the same story. They need to get the guns. They need to do what they need to do because they know the collapse is coming. They know what is ahead of them, and they need to do this. Now, on the opposite end, a Texas town passes resolution encouraging gun ownership by every single citizen in the town. So, the East Texas town of Gun Barrel City, great name, is telling every citizen, and using the slogan lock and load, to buy a gun, and they should own one. And the city supports every head of household residing in the city limits to maintain a firearm together with ammunition. This is absolutely perfect. I agree. Every person in America needs to have a firearm. First of all, protection against people invading your house. Secondly, everyone needs a firearm to protect themselves against a tyrannical government, DHS, or anything else. That is why our founding fathers put that in there. It's a simple one sentence that tells us that we have this right. You can't really mess it up except for government officials. And they're telling us why we need this. Now, do we need these weapons all the time? No, we take it out to the range, we practice, but when we do need it, they are there. Just like our other prepping things, we have water. When we need it, it is there. So I believe that, and I agree with the founding fathers. They're the ones who created this whole entire thing, and they've been through this before. We have not. They know what they're talking about, and we can see it today with the government, with taxes, laws, DHS, propaganda, false flags. We see it all from them. And here's another thing that they're throwing on us, which is, of course, cyber attacks. Now, there was a report that came out in Canada, and the headline was, "The Nanos Number, Cyber Attacks Homegrown Terrorists Worry Canadians." Now, funny how they throw homegrown terrorists into there. And they did a whole poll, what are the Canadians worried about? And they're worried about cyber attacks against the government, 38.5%. Homegrown terrorists, 38.8%. Foreign terrorists, 10.2%. Unsure, 12.5%. So you can see they are building the case also against cyber attacks, and they're including homegrown terrorists, letting everyone know in Canada, people who oppose the government, people who are not, in line with the government, can be a homegrown terrorist. Now, another report that came out that has to do with cyber war, cyber attacks, is JAWS, Nuclear Weapons and Cyber War. Now, in this article, they go in and they start talking about the U.S. power grid system. And they explain how they're highly centralized, divided into 3 separate power grids: the Eastern Interconnection, the Western Interconnection, and the Electric Reliability Council of Texas Interconnection. 90% of the Defense Department's critical infrastructure is dependent upon these networks. So they're saying that if something hits, like a cyber attack, and a transformer fails, it will affect water distribution, transportation, communication, emergency and government services. And basically they're saying, given the 12-month lead time to typically required to replace a damaged transformer with a new one. So they're saying this could be a long period of time that we are out without power, water, services. And they're just letting everyone know that this is a possibility. And just to play on this, Stony Brook, I believe. Yes, Stony Brook researchers ran a simulation on the electric grid, and the way it's set up right now, they introduced a worm, which is like a virus, into the system, and it spread through the entire network in a matter of minutes, actually less than a minute, and completely disrupted the electric grid. So they're letting us know that the way we have it set up right now is very vulnerable to a cyber attack, and it could knock out, the entire grid system, which I've been saying. Now, I know they said, this could be a 12-month to get transformers and things in place again. I think they're going to let this go for a couple of days, or maybe even a week or two, just to really make people feel the pain of another country doing this to us. And, and it's, and also they need the time to siphon off the money from the banks and blame it on another country. And when the lights and everything turns on, again, we're missing the funds. We're angry. We're tired. We're hungry. People have died because of this, and they're going to blame it on a country, and we're going to sit here and say, let's go get them because we want revenge. But let me tell you, I've said this many times, get prepared for this. I know everyone keeps talking about gold and silver, and that's fantastic. Listen, I have it. But we need to get prepared for these events because we're in the end game here. We are in a place where they need to accomplish certain tasks before they let this thing go. And when I say let this go, it's like fingers in a dam. They just, another hole pops up and they're just covering it, and you can see it happening across the world. Europe at a record high unemployment. They had to change the calculations for GDP, unemployment, inflation to cover up everything that's going on. I mean, it's still going on. They're just covering it up so the mass majority of people don't realize it. But they keep putting their fingers in these holes, and they need to get these tasks of gun control, the rights away from the people. They need to have everything in place before they say, okay, we can't hold this anymore, and the dam breaks and everything comes flooding into us. Now, DHS, there was a video that depicts, militias as chemical weapon wielding terrorists, and I thought this was very interesting because we do have a chemical weapon test in New York subway coming up soon, and they keep putting out these hints and these news reports about domestic terrorists, and it could be foreign terrorists, and they just have many groups they can use to blame this on. But these events are coming, and again, DHS is not to protect the American people. DHS is there to control the people, to spy on the people, to collect information, and to find out who's talking about the government and who's against the government. And that is why they are in place. Now, Bloomberg, this guy is unbelievable. He's pretty much saying going with the NRA is going against the lives of our children. And he is completely wrong. I guess he hasn't read the Constitution or our Founding Fathers, what they had to say. Thomas, and I've said this before, but let's just repeat it. Thomas Jefferson said, I predict future happiness for Americans if they can prevent the government from wasting the labors of the people under the pretense of taking care of them. Now, Bloomberg, he wants to protect us from soda, from guns. He wants to protect us from our children. But Thomas Jefferson, remember, these people lived through it. They had blood on their hands. They fought for this. They knew. They're telling us. And this is what he said. They must stop trading liberty for security. They must stop thinking the role of the government, and this is to the people he's saying this, they must stop thinking the role of the government is to be involved in all aspects of their lives. They must take a good look at what the proper role of government is. They must understand that as government expands, liberty contracts. The government is best which governs least. And you can see what's happening. The governments, state, federal, they are all trying to govern more. They're all trying to create more laws, more taxes, pretend that they're protecting us. And I just want to bring this up. I do watch the show Revolution. And last episode, I thought it was very interesting where Monroe, it's a Monroe militia, and he is in charge of part of the country, comes into town and tells the people there that they're there to protect them from terrorists. but basically they were there to kill them. And I thought that was very interesting because the government, and I was thinking about the government of today, how they're telling us that they're here to protect us, that we care about you, it's about the children. And I find it very interesting, if you look back in history, it's the same thing repeated over and over and over. How they tell you that they're protecting you, they're going to keep you safe. Meanwhile, they're doing everything opposite of what they're telling you. Now, in Florida, there was an article that says Floridians encouraged to report neighbors who hate government. Now, this is very interesting. Basically, what the sheriff in, I think it's Palm Beach County, Sheriff Rick Bradshaw, he's calling it violence prevention. We want people to call us if the guy down the street says he hates the government, hates the mayor, and he's going to shoot him. What does it hurt to have somebody knock on a door and ask, hey, is everything okay? Listen, that's why we have freedom of speech. We can say whatever we want. Doesn't mean we're going to act upon it. Just because you don't agree or you hate your government, that has nothing to do with anything. We're allowed to speak out and question the government. These are our rights. But this reminds me of my episode that had to do with the Great Depression, and when Obama came out and told the people, and this was the scenario that I made up, you know, if you hear people talking about the government or if you hear people conspiring, let us know. I feel we're having the same thing happen right now, especially in New York. You know what? If you see someone with a gun, report them. We'll check if it's illegal. We're allowed to frisk you without probable cause. And now they want to enact this along with gun confiscation in California. Think about what's going on here. A lot is going on. Now, this title of this report is The Economic Collapse Code. And again, somebody sent me this document, and I looked at it, and I found it very interesting. There's a table in there called A.1, and you can click on the link, and it'll bring you to the document. And they have a chart from 2001, quarter 1, 2001, all the way to quarter 4, 2015. And they are predicting, you know, what they think the Dow Jones is going to be at, what the unemployment rate is going to be at. And let me just go down to this chart where we are right now. We're in quarter 1 of 2013. They're saying the real GDP growth is negative 6.1. Now, this is a supervisory, severely adverse scenario. So real GDP growth is negative 6.1. Real disposable income growth is negative 6.7. Unemployment rate is 10%. They're saying the market is going to be at 96.52. So I said, let me just look back here. So back in quarter 1 of 2012, they said the market is going to be 14.753. So I think they're a little off here in their predictions, but they got it to where they wanted it. So the quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4 of 2012 were, at quarter 3 of 2012, we're at 14,997, almost hitting 15,000. Then quarter 4 of 2012, they said it went down to 12,105. So if we look at this, I would say their prediction is a little off, but we're at quarter 3, 2012 at 14,997. So I said, let me see how this corresponds going back to 2008. And I went back to 2008, and when we had the collapse in 2009, the market fell. Their prediction was 2009 8113 for the Dow Jones. But the market at that time actually fell to 6,547. So here in 2013, they are predicting on quarter 4 of 2013 for the stock market to come down to 7,221. Now again, I think they're a little bit behind in what they're doing, because right now we're in quarter 2 in 2013, and they predicted 9,000, but we're just hitting the 14,997. So it looks like we're 2 quarters behind. So we're looking at a drop probably early summer. Yeah, around early summer to come down to 9,000 or so, because that's what they're predicting here. And then come the end of the year, we're looking to start dropping off now. I mean, they've come very close to all the dips and the highs, and we're just a little bit off right now. But they're looking at this to come down to 7,221, which is pretty much half of what the stock market is right now. But if we factor in everything else, I think it's going to be a lot worse than what they're saying. I mean, they're looking. Let's just do this. They're looking at unemployment at the fourth quarter of 2013 at almost 12%. And we have to remember what else is going on here. Yes, this is their scenario, but we have things, and this report is given. Let me bring it up. This is the Dodd-Frank Act stress test for March 2013. That's what this is. But the thing is, this is what they're presenting to the government, but we have to factor in what else is going on around in the world. And if you notice, the last drop that they predicted was supposed to be at 8,113 in 2009, but it was really 6,547. But back then, we didn't have unemployment the way it is right now. We didn't have QE 1 through 5. Many more people, we didn't have unemployment like we have today. People not making money, people's savings depleted, their wealth was taken away in 2008, 2009. The Fed is buying 90% of the Treasury bonds and might be increased to purchase even more of the Treasury bonds. Right now, back in 2008, the debt was around $9 or $10 trillion. Now, the debt is $17 trillion. Across Europe, we're seeing unemployment at the highest it has ever been. Countries like Cyprus have capital controls. Portugal, Spain, France are seeing the same things. Unemployment there are skyrocketing. Greece had to be bailed out numerous times, and there's just unemployment, and what they're going through is just incredible. The countries now have created the bail-in documents, because governments will not allow bailouts anymore. So instead, they're going to go in and take the people's money. We didn't have that in 2008, 2009. Real estate, stock market, treasury bond, they're all in bubbles right now. All the countries are printing money, debasing their currency. Everything is in overdrive. War is on the horizon with many different countries. We're seeing more events. We have laws coming out restricting us, restricting our rights, taking away our guns. We have events that are popping up singling out domestic terrorists or homegrown militants. All these things are in play. Do I think the market's going to come down? Do I think it's going to be half? I think it's going to be more than half. I think it's going to be a lot worse than what they're presenting to the government. I do believe it's coming. It will start to happen this year. And again, as I said before, the human factor is what really throws them off. And, they can kick the can as far as they want, but the human factor and what happens around the world is the variable they cannot control. So basically, we all need to be prepared. We know it's coming. We see what they're doing. We see their code, their system code of what they're trying to do. And they know that this fiat currency system is coming to an end, and they're trying to get as much real hard assets as they can right now, because the printed money is worthless. What's real? Land, gold, silver, mines, oil. These are the real things. Food production. They don't want this paper shit. They know it's worthless, because think about it. If it wasn't worthless, they would just print as much as they can and just hoard it all. But they're not. They're taking it and they're using different schemes and tactics to get the hard assets. So listen, everyone. We all need to be prepared. We know what's coming. We see what they're doing. It's laid out right in front of us. They're not hiding it. It's just you have to look for it. And I really appreciate people sending me things, talking to me with email, and I like to share it with everyone. Again, this all doesn't come from me. A lot of people help me out, and they do send me things via email, and we do have discussions. And I have many discussions with many people all around the world, and things some people are a little skittish. They don't want to put things on a form, and I get it. Listen, and they like to email, and I keep everything confidential because, these are scary times that we live in. You don't know if some DHS or police force or some type of law enforcement is going to be knocking at your door. So listen, everyone. Be safe, be well, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.